Hello and welcome guys. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to check or view Apache2 error logs on Ubuntu 22.04.
Go to our web server and look at the log. And that's in /var/log/Apache2. And there are three different logs shown here. The one of interest is the access.log. The error log is when when Apache starts up, or if there are errors with the web server, they'll be put in there, and hopefully you will not need to use that. But if there are problems with your web server, you may look in the error log. And the other vhost access.log is used if there are different virtual hosts on the system. We want access.log, which is just a text file, and I'll open it in Vi. It's a text file where each line represents an access to the web server. Every time someone accesses the web server, they send a request using HTTP to the web server. The web server sends back a response. Then one line is put into this log file to the end of the file. So we'll inspect one of those lines and we'll look at the last couple of lines, the last three in our case. There are some of the early accesses. I'll just quit out of that. Quit out of that, and I'll just use tail to look at the last three lines of access log. They're the ones of interest because I know they're the ones when I use my Lynx web browser on the client to access the web server. There are actually three lines here, but because they're so long, they are wraparound. So this is the first line, this is the second line, and the third line corresponding to three accesses to the website. Let's go through the first one. The IP address of the client that accessed our web server. These two are empty fields, so they're space separated fields in this file, in this entry, and they don't have a value. We will see later one of them is related to well, we won't see in this demo, but if you have logins, usernames and passwords, the username may be stored there. The next is the date and time that request was received, and that's in square brackets here. So we know when that request occurred. The next, and just be careful, it's enclosed in double quotes, this is the next field. This is the summary of the request that came from the client. The client said get /test/, because if you remember in Lynx, that's what I typed in. I typed in open my browser, access using HTTP www.example.com, i.e. my web server, and request the path /test/. So that's what's sent to the web server. And using protocol HTTP version 1.0. The server received that request and sends back a response depending upon whether it was successful or not. And HTTP has a number of status or response status codes. And the most common one we'll see is 200 OK when everything is OK. Another one you may see is 404 not found. So this is saying response was OK. This is the size of the response. The HTTP response was 428 bytes long. This field is empty. The dash is the referrer field. We'll see it in the next two examples. And this long last field is an identifier of the web browser, referred to as the user agent. It's saying the web browser identified itself as Lynx version 2.89, running with some options, SSL, GNU, TLS, and so on. So this was set by the web browser when it sent the request to the web server. So now the server knows something about who accessed and also what software accessed, what was running, what browser was running. But noting that a browser could potentially change that if they want to hide that detail. So this was a request for /test/ a response was sent back 200 OK, including the web page requested, which we saw was the index.html file. Because of this feature, if you request a directory, normally the index.html file is sent back. Then about a minute later, I followed that link to page 2. So we see similar information, but a request to /test/page2.html. And 200 OK, the page 2 was sent back. And note we have this referrer field set here, where it wasn't set in the first one. This field, the referrer field, indicates if we followed a link to get to page 2, where did we come from? What page did we come from when we clicked on that link, which in this case was the original test URL. So to get to page 2, we came from the original test. And in the third case, to get back to index.html, we clicked on that link to go to index. And if you looked in the source code, it would be a link to index.html, not to /test/. And the referrer in that case was page 2. The referrer is useful to give statistics to the web server operator about where did someone come from to get to their website, and how do they traverse through the website. For example, if someone visited your website via a link in the Google search results, the referrer here may be a reference to Google. So you would know that to get to my website, they come via Google, and that can be useful information for the website operator. So a brief summary of the log file, the access log file, which is maintained by
If you want to read a
the
detailed
Apache
guide
web
related
server,
to this video,
which
I
can
have the
provide
link in the
useful
video
statistics
description.
for operating
Please
that web
subscribe to
server.
our YouTube channel and visit my website tutsmake.com.